These academic geniuses like Bernanke, the PhDs from academia, he destroyed our economy. Bernanke destroyed our economy by dropping interest rates so low and printing money. Now we're the biggest debtor nation in world history, and they give him the Nobel Prize. What is wrong with our country? What is wrong with us? And we're supposed to be the reserve currency of the world after 1944. Why don't we teach kids that? Why don't we teach them it's a 1619 project which changes history? Why is our education system so corrupt?
Welcome back, everybody. In this video, we're going to be watching an interview with Robert Kiyosaki. Now, Robert Kiyosaki is the author of the most successful financial book ever written. You may know the name of it. It is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It has been translated into 46 languages. And if you haven't read it, I would recommend reading it as a start to your financial journey. Now, in this interview, Robert Kiyosaki breaks down why it's important to have an allocation to gold, silver, and Bitcoin. Now, if that sounds interesting to you, please stick around and hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and smash the notification bell to get all the latest updates. Enjoy.
You are now sounding the alarm again about the issue of fake money, about a global recession that is impending, if not already here, and about the idea that people's pensions are in peril. You are warning of not so great times ahead, saying that this is the end of the American empire, that the collapse has begun, that this is the inflection point.
Correct. And I'm very concerned right now because, anybody who's watched Kitco knows that America became the power in 1944 with the Bretton Woods Agreement. And then this dollar became the reserve currency of the world. In other words, the dollar was as good as gold. That's all changed. And today we're in serious trouble globally, and I'm very concerned. The end of the American empire is here.
And that has been a big theme of this conference, this idea of de-dollarization after the dollar has been weaponized against other countries. As we've seen in the Russia-Ukraine conflict, we're seeing a number of developing world countries like the BRICS coming up with their own currency, potentially looking at taking the oil off the petrodollar. Saudi Arabia reportedly in conversations with China about changing that standard. Another big theme of this conference that we're hearing about is central banks around the world bolstering their gold supplies. Robert, do you think that the notion that fiat currency, which is what we've accepted as a society to use ever since Nixon 1971 took us off the gold standard.
Yeah, this is real gold.
But we have as a world, as a society, been using fiat currency. Fiat, which literally means by decree, because I said
Correct.
so, because governments have told us that this is what we must use.
Wait, they just misspelled it. Fiat should be spelled F-A-K-E.
Okay, got it. Fake, right?
That's how I'm wired up.
But do you think that there is a growing understanding that fiat is in jeopardy? And it's hard to sort of separate yourself from the echo chamber of the gold conferences and even the Bitcoin conferences, where we are sort of hearing the same sentiment because it's people that share the same ideas. Do you think outside of that world, people are starting to understand that fiat currency is on a massive decline?
They don't understand why, because no financial education in schools, which is why I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But they know something's wrong. Mm-hmm. You see, and the message I want everybody to hear is the world is finding out that this is fake. It's not fiat, it's fake. And so the reason I don't get invited to CNBC anymore is because when I'm on there, I say I do not invest in anything that can be printed. You can print this.
Denmark, by the way, is sensing that war is afoot, and they've actually planned compulsory military conscription for women. So they're looking at bolstering their forces. How do you see this conflict playing out? Because nuclear war is looking more and more like a possibility. The doomsday clock, which measures the likelihood of nuclear war, that is forecasting that the world is just 90 seconds away from total annihilation. That is the highest risk of nuclear war ever. What do you think? Do you think this is something that it could escalate into?
Well, as a Marine Corps pilot, I've killed a lot of people. And so what I see going on in Ukraine, my heart bleeds. I feel for the women and children more than the soldiers. But I'm so old, like I started buying this, 60 years ago. But even before that, in 1962, I believe, I grew up on the island of Hawaii, the Big Island. And I saw an atomic bomb go off. So there was Christmas Island south of us. And my family and I are watching television. I'm probably 14 or 15 years old. And I see this flash go through the house. I went, what's that? What was that? What it was Christmas Island detonating a small bomb.
As a test.
Yeah, that's how they tested the weapons. And so my family, we turn off Johnny Carson or whatever it was, and we go to the window. And the paper described it exactly. It said it looked like somebody poured blood in the sky. So when Rickards is talking about possibility of nuclear war and all that, I think the reason it's easy to talk about it is you haven't seen it. Like most people haven't killed anybody. When you see that, I'm anti-war now. It's horrible. It was horrible what we had to do. And I felt for the troops when we got spit on when we got back from Vietnam. But wait, so when the paper says it looked like blood was poured in the sky, so when people just casually toss around, oh, it's a possibility of a nuclear war, they don't know what they're talking about. I am a U.S. Marine. I'm a ring knocker. It means I went to the academy. Yeah, I'm as hardcore military as I become. I do not like where we're going. We're cruising for war to end the problem of this year, just because of fake money.
So you say they don't know what they're talking about in the sense that they don't fathom the severity of what this actually means, not that they're wrong necessarily.
Well, Eisenhower warned of it, the nuclear the military industrial complex.
And you say
they
we're going
want those
to
weapons
war
over there
because of this? Explain what you mean by that.
There's one more thing, is today they talk about homelessness. It's exploding. And people say it's because they're on drugs or they're mentally deranged. But there's a whole classification of homeless who are working homeless. Because this is so abundant, they can't afford a house. So they're working, they live in their cars with their kids and all this. They're not drug dealers, they're honest, hardworking people. But the more they pervert this, which started in 1971, when Nixon took this, which is gold, off the gold standard, this became fake money. And fake money, like the Weimar Republic in Germany and all this, has always led to war and depression.
Yeah.
I'm concerned. And that's why I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I said, why don't our schools teach us about money? Why don't they teach us in 1964, President Johnson took this off the gold standard. Why don't they teach us in 71, Nixon took this off the gold standard? That's more important than sexual bending or critical race theory.
Yeah.
Oh, God, it's garbage what they're teaching kids.
Robert, you're also the author of the world's best-selling personal finance book, as we've discussed. You're mentioning gold and silver, but in your tweets you write GSB, gold, silver, Bitcoin. Why do you think Bitcoin is going to survive all of this?
You're asking the wrong guy. In financial education, there's fundamental trading and technical. Technical is up and down. So when I saw Bitcoin go to 20,000, I don't know when it was, then it dropped down to $1, so it's toast. But then it came roaring back. So when it hit 6,000, I bought 60 Bitcoin at 6,000. I think today it's at 20,000.
So yeah, it's around about 21,000.
Yeah, but so the more I'm in it, the more I realize it has sustainability. So the reason people buy Bitcoin is the same reason I buy this and I buy this, is I don't trust this. It's the same reason. These academic geniuses like Bernanke, the PhDs from academia, he destroyed our economy. Bernanke destroyed our economy by dropping interest rates so low and printing money now we're the biggest debtor nation in world history, and they give him the Nobel Prize? What is wrong with our country? What is wrong with us? And we're supposed to be the reserve currency of the world after 1944. Why don't we teach kids that? Why don't we teach them it's a 1619 project which changes history? You know, why is our education system so corrupt? But that's the story of rich dad, poor dad. My poor dad, PhD from Stanford, Northwestern, Chicago. He knew nothing about money. My rich dad never went to college, but he did know this was real and this is not real.